The snowstorm was relentless when retired officer Jack Walker spotted the shape on the side of the road. At first, he thought it was debris, until it moved. A dying German shepherd lay half buried in the snow, its breathing shallow, eyes dull. Without hesitation, Jack dropped to his knees, wrapping his coat around the trembling body. "Hang on, soldier," he whispered. "You're not dying tonight." He didn't know it yet, but saving that dog would awaken a bond deeper than anything he'd ever known. Because this wasn't just any rescue. What he'd found in that storm would lead him into a story of loyalty, loss, and a secret that would change both their lives forever. The wind howled across the frozen plains as Jack Walker tightened his coat and trudged through the snow. The retired U.S. officer had long grown used to silence. It was the only companion left after the war ended. His cabin sat miles from the nearest town, where the nights were long and memories were louder than the wind. That evening, visibility was near zero. He was heading home from town when his headlights caught something on the road, a dark shape half buried beneath the snow. Jack stopped, heart pounding. At first, he thought it was debris, but then it moved. A faint whimper broke through the storm. He rushed forward. Kneeling beside what he now saw was a German shepherd, barely breathing, its fur matted with ice and blood. "Easy, boy," he whispered, wrapping his arms around the limp body. The dog's eyes flickered open, dull but pleading. Jack hesitated only a second before lifting the heavy animal into his truck. "Hang on, soldier," he murmured. "You're not dying tonight." As he drove through the storm, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that fate had just put something, or someone, back in his life for a reason. He just didn't know yet how much this moment would change everything. Snow still blanketed the cabin when Jack woke to the faint sound of breathing beside the fireplace. The German shepherd lay on a pile of blankets, wrapped in warmth and dim light. For the first time in years, Jack had someone to talk to, even if the other couldn't answer. "You've got fight in you," he muttered, pouring warm broth into a bowl. "That's good. I like fighters." Days turned into weeks. The dog's wounds began to heal, though his body bore deep scars, old and new. Whenever Jack approached, the shepherd's eyes followed him sharply, assessing, calculating, never afraid but never fully trusting either. Jack saw something familiar in those eyes: discipline, training. Pained that he named him Rex, a name that seemed to fit, strong and steady. Rex learned Jack's voice, his steps, even the rhythm of his heartbeat. Yet something about the dog unsettled him. Rex never barked without purpose. He reacted to certain sounds: military radio static, boots on hardwood, the click of metal point. One morning, while brushing his fur, Jack found something under the collar, a small, rusted metal tag engraved not with a name, but with a number, K9-07. That was the moment Jack realized. Rex hadn't just survived something. He'd escaped it. It started with a sound, low, guttural, and unlike any growl Jack had heard before. Rex was staring at the window, muscles tense, ears twitching. Outside, the snowstorm had quieted, but a pair of headlights flickered briefly through the trees before vanishing into the dark. Jack stood still, every instinct he'd buried since retirement suddenly awake. The next morning, tire tracks carved deep paths in the fresh snow near his driveway. And on the porch, footprints. Not his. Not Rex's. Someone had been watching. Later that day, a black SUV pulled up. A man in a dark coat stepped out, flashing a badge. "Animal control," he said. "We're tracking a missing K9, dangerous military property. You seen anything?" Jack's gut twisted. "No," he lied smoothly. But that night, he couldn't shake the unease. He examined Rex's old wound again, finding a tiny metallic chip embedded under the skin. Using an old military scanner, Jack activated it and froze. The display flickered to life with a line of text: "Classified file. K9 Unit 07, decommission project." His pulse quickened. He stared at Rex, who was watching him silently, tail motionless. Jack whispered, "What did they do to you, boy?" Outside, the wind howled again. But this time, Jack knew it wasn't just the storm that was coming. Night fell heavy over the woods, and the silence felt wrong. Rex wouldn't rest. He paced near the windows, growling at every sound. Jack loaded a log into the fire, unease gnawing at him. Then, faintly, he saw it through the glass, a flash of light moving between the trees. Not headlights this time. Flashlights. Before he could react, The cabin's power cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. Jack grabbed his rifle, whispering, "Stay close, boy." But Rex was already ahead, standing at the door, body coiled, teeth bared. The crunch of snow outside grew louder. Footsteps, multiple, surrounding the cabin. "Walker!" A voice shouted from the dark. "Step outside. We're only here for the dog." Jack's grip tightened. "You'll have to go through me first." Then chaos erupted. Windows shattered, boots pounded against the porch. Rex lunged into the dark, his growl a war cry. Jack moved like it was 10 years ago in combat, swift, precise, protecting his flank as Rex drove the attackers back. One shouted, "Tranquilize him." But before the dart hit, Rex slammed into him, knocking him into the snow. When it was over, 2 men lay unconscious, and the others fled into the trees. Jack panted, lowering his weapon. Rex limped to his side, blood on his fur. The past hadn't just returned. It had found them, by sunrise. The cabin looked like a battlefield, shattered glass, broken wood, and bloody footprints trailing into the snow. Jack cleaned Rex's wound carefully, his hands trembling more from what he'd seen than from exhaustion. These weren't ordinary men. They moved like trained operatives. Someone powerful wanted this dog silenced that he made a call to an old contact, Colonel Reeves, a man who owed him more than one favor. Within an hour, Reeves called back, voice tight. "Jack, where did you say you found that dog?" Jack hesitated. "Why?" "Because that dog isn't supposed to exist." K9-07 was part of a classified defense project, Combat Enhancement. The program was shut down after the dog started thinking for themselves. They were ordered destroyed. If one's still alive, someone's in trouble. Jack looked at Rex lying beside the fire, watching him calmly. "He's not a weapon anymore," he said firmly. "He's just trying to live." Reeves sighed. "They won't see it that way, old friend. You need to hand him over." Jack's voice hardened. "You know I won't." As the call ended, Rex lifted his head, sensing the shift in Jack's tone. Their eyes met. One man, one soldier of a different kind, both bound by war, and now, by a secret they could never surrender. Weeks passed, and winter began to fade into spring. The cabin was quieter now, peaceful, almost normal. Jack repaired the windows, built new fences, and every morning, Rex would follow him through the woods, his limp fading with each day. The scars on both of them, man and dog, were beginning to heal. But some wounds ran deeper than flesh. One afternoon, a family's car broke down on the icy road nearby. Jack offered help, guiding them toward his cabin to stay warm. Their young son wandered outside chasing a snowflake, stepping too close to the steep edge near the ridge. Jack shouted, but the boy slipped. Before he could move, Rex was already running, faster than Jack thought possible. The dog leapt down, catching the boy's jacket between his teeth, holding firm until Jack reached them. Together, they pulled the child to safety. The parents wept, thanking him again and again, but Jack's eyes were fixed on Rex. Later that night, as the fire crackled, Jack knelt beside him. "You saved another life," he whispered. Rex's tail thumped once, slow and steady. Outside, the storm clouds broke, sunlight spilling over the snow. Jack smiled faintly. "Guess we both got our second chance, huh?" And for the first time in years, he finally believed it.